Welcome back to another episode of the Top Attorneys of North America podcast. Today's episode hits close to home for millions of Americans. Financial stress is no longer something happening to other people. From skyrocketing inflation and crushing debt to rising bankruptcy filings among everyday Americans and even massive corporations, the economic pressure cooker is very real. As of today, nearly half of Americans say their financial situation worsened in 2025, and many families are just one unexpected expense away from financial disaster. And we're also seeing this across major companies like Rite Aid, Forever 21, Spirit Airlines. They're facing bankruptcy protection, restructuring, or even liquidation. If billion-dollar corporations are struggling, imagine what everyday Americans and small business owners are dealing with. That's why today's guest is incredibly important. Joining us today is attorney Chad Van Horn, one of South Florida's leading voices in bankruptcy, debt relief, and business restructuring law. Chad is the founding partner of Van Horn Law Group, which has grown into the largest bankruptcy firm in Broward County, as well as across the nation based on filing cases. His firm was also recognized among Inc. magazine's 5,000 fastest growing privately held companies in both 2019 and 2020. Chad, welcome to the show.
Sal, so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. The honor's ours, sir. I always like to start with my attorneys, at the beginning. What inspired you to get into law in the first place?
So, like many attorneys, I always wanted to give back and I wanted to take care of the little guy. That's where it all stemmed from. I don't have any attorneys in my family. I was the first attorney in the family and really didn't have many mentors that were attorneys growing up either. But I saw that the impact that attorneys can have on people's lives while I was growing up. And I wanted to be one of those people. And then obviously ended up getting into Nova Southeastern University and fortunately graduating, passing the bar, and here we are.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I did a lot of research before we met today. So, number one, congratulations on becoming a father to a beautiful baby girl earlier this year. You're also the proud lover of Chuckles, a doodle who is now a big brother. I
That's
have
right.
I have two golden doodles myself, Bruno and Rocco, so I knew we would get along before we even started recording. And obviously, family is super important. So before we dive into bankruptcy law, uh, tell me about Chuckles and what you think it is about doodles that make people so obsessed with them.
And Chuckles comes to the office every day. He's here right now. And the story of Chuckles is a really good one. I got married February 29th, 2020. And the wedding gift that I got my wife was a meet and greet with John Legend, and he was going to sing our wedding song.
Oh, very cool.
For those of you that remember, March of 2020,
Yeah.
COVID hit, all the concerts were canceled. So technically, I didn't get my wife a wedding gift at that point. So I had to pivot very quickly into this beautiful puppy named Chuckles. And from the day I handed Chuckles to my wife, she started crying and just the love that he brought, especially during the tough times of COVID and just, life in general. It really has been a wonderful thing. And he comes into the office every day, makes people happy. We actually have clients who could do everything virtually if they wanted to. They come in just so they can see Chuckles and see him bring a smile to people's faces. It's golden.
I love it. I love it. Let's get down to business because I did open with some pretty alarming financial statistics. From your perspective, are we in the middle of a financial crisis that many Americans are underestimating? Because it's tough to tell. The stock market is at all-time highs, yet there obviously seems to be a huge disconnect from Wall Street to Main Street. What are you seeing on the ground?
Yeah, there is a huge disconnect, and unfortunately, many of my clients do not care about the stock market because they're not invested. because even the retirement accounts they're not taking advantage of now, the IRAs, the 401ks. So they're really just trying to get by. So yeah, it's great for millionaires and billionaires when the stock market's going through the roof, but a majority of Americans are not really taking advantage of that. And unfortunately, what they're getting hit with are higher prices and stagnant wages.
Yeah.
And now we're even seeing, mass layoffs. You mentioned Spirit. Spirit just closed. So they were in a Chapter 11 reorganization. Now they closed, and that's tens of thousands of employees out there that unfortunately there is no natural place for them to go. I'm sure some will go to competitor airlines, but the openings aren't there. And we're seeing more and more companies have these mass layoffs, even companies that are successful, like the Silicon Valley companies, because they're able to use AI and other things to replace humans. And where are these humans going to go? And unfortunately, we're at a record level of debt in every category: credit cards, student loans, mortgages, car loans, you name it. It's a record level of debt. So, what that means is you have all of this debt and you have people losing their job and the income's not going up. Interest rates are high, everything's more expensive. It's the perfect recipe for what's happening. And what's happening is more people are filing bankruptcy.
Yeah. So you expect to see bankruptcy filings to keep increasing throughout 2026.
We were up 60% last year. We're going to be up 60% again this year. I mean, it's just a
Crazy.
massive number, and I can't hire fast enough. We just brought on 10 new employees that we're onboarding because it's only going to grow.
Crazy. Crazy. Uh, Let me ask you, what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have when they hear the word bankruptcy?
The biggest misconception is people look at it as a failure point, and to me, it couldn't be farther from the truth. It's, something happened in your life, you figured out your legal options. If bankruptcy is your best legal option, you take that legal option. It's built into the Constitution. You get your fresh start, and then it takes about 12 to 18 months to rebuild your credit, generally speaking, after you're done with bankruptcy. So this isn't like a life sentence that you'll never get credit again. Actually, credit card companies buy the list of people that file bankruptcy so they can advertise them right after they receive their discharge to get another credit card and start rebuilding, because the American system is built on credit. I mean, we are a government of our people. The government is how many trillions in debt now? I don't even know what it's up to at this point. I think 53 trillion
Yeah, it's
in
crazy.
debt, and it passes along to the individual. So the biggest mistakes that people make is thinking bankruptcy is a life sentence and bankruptcy means I'm a failure, should stay away from it, because it usually is the comeback story that people need.
Yes, sir. Why do you think so many people wait until the absolute last minute before speaking with a bankruptcy attorney? Is it pride, fear,
Yeah,
embarrassment?
I think the mind is a very complicated thing, and I think if you put it out of your mind, it's just going to go away. And unfortunately, it doesn't just go away. So the main trigger for most of my clients, a lawsuit is filed against them, foreclosure, a garnishment occurs, a frozen bank account, and then they have to act. So the hardest part of bankruptcy is making the phone call. So
Yeah.
once they mentally can get over that hump, and obviously credit card companies and there's a ton of information out there that can be misleading on the impacts of bankruptcy, because they don't want you knowing your options. And in every other part of life, like if you go see your doctor, you want to know what your options are, and you go see your doctor, ask options. But for some reason, when it comes to financial, people only want to look at certain options. They don't want to explore all their options because bankruptcy used to have a really negative connotation to it. I think the next generation is looking at more like what it is. It's a business decision on how I can move forward for me and my family.
Yeah. So in a way, you're like a doctor yourself, like a therapist. You're dealing with people during some of the darkest moments of their lives. What does severe financial stress actually do to someone emotionally, mentally, physically?
Yeah. I've been doing this almost 2 decades now, and I remember during the Great Recession, and this is part of the reason why I became a bankruptcy attorney. I mean, there were people that were committing suicide because
Oof.
they had their personal being all caught up in the financial being. So even though they had I remember one individual had a family, we could have got through with the bankruptcy, you could have worked on the other side. People tie themselves to, I'm this successful real estate person, or and they forget that they're more than that, right? If your real estate goes away or possessions go away, that doesn't mean you're less of a person. It means you went through something, and that happened in the Great Recession. We saw obviously during COVID, a lot of businesses got destroyed. Again, not because they're bad businesses or bad decisions, it's just COVID happened and it's completely out of their hands. So, tying your personal self-worth to your financial standing is really, really could be a damaging thing, and that goes up and down and sideways. So it's really important to separate those two. And yeah, we've seen some, and I've seen the other way as well. People go through the bankruptcy, and this is the story that I normally see: go through the bankruptcy, and they're like, man, I just feel lighter. I'm sleeping better. I'm a better husband. I'm a better wife. I'm a better mother, father, because that stress that you're just carrying day in and day out, you get used to it and it just wears you down.
Yeah, it's very important what you said. You're more than that. Your self-worth is more than that. You don't want it to start destroying the family, start destroying your marriage or your relationship. For someone listening right now who feels buried in debt and hopeless, what would you want them to understand?
First, you're not alone, right? So you're not alone. I promise you that we've dealt with more difficult situations, and the attorneys out there have dealt with much more difficult situations. Take the first step. I always say the best thing you can do whenever you're going through anything negative in life, you don't even have to start making good decisions, right? You first stop making bad decisions. And then get rid of the stop making bad decisions. Then you can just make normal decisions, and then we can get you into making good decisions. So the first step is, stop trying to self-diagnose ChatGPT or Gemini. Go talk to a professional and get professional advice, because what got you into this scenario, and I know I have clients that try to get out by gambling, by playing the lottery, by all these things that clearly are not going to get you out of debt. So you got to get with a professional that can hold you accountable and put a plan together that will actually get you out of debt. So get out of your head, make the phone call. Usually our consultations are like 15 to 30 minutes on average. So they're very, very quick because we get basic information. How much debt do you have? What's your income? What's your expenses? What are your assets? And from there, we can put a plan together on how to get you out of debt. And if you don't have a plan, if you're in debt and you don't have a plan to get out of debt, you need to call somebody that can help you with that plan, because what you're doing is not going to get you out of debt.
Yes. And to go back to something that you said, the negative stigma, bankruptcy, a lot of people associate that with failing. And again, circling back to you being, like a therapist, how do you reframe that conversation for clients?
It's actually very simple. I mean, Walt Disney filed for bankruptcy, right?
Yeah.
H.J. Heinz Ketchup, filed for bankruptcy. And if these guys can file for bankruptcy and then create what they created afterward, why can't you? This right now just takes this off your plate to let you open your mind again and figure out where you're going to go from here. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes daily, right? It's what you do with those mistakes, how you learn from those mistakes, and where you move forward from. So this, going through bankruptcy may seem like the biggest thing in the world, and everybody's going to know. Honestly, nobody cares, and they're probably in debt too, and they might have filed bankruptcy too. So most people
Yeah.
are dealing with their own financial issues, and I think that's one of the reasons it's taboo, is because people, generally speaking, don't talk outwardly about their financial issues. The next generation, though, is pretty good. They're going on TikTok talking about how bankruptcy is changing their life. So maybe this is going to help take that stigma away, because it's such an important thing to understand, and it really is such a great option for so many people that are just struggling and unable to get out of debt and dealing with that stress daily.
Yeah, I agree. I agree because, there's obviously a strange double standard culturally because, like you said, giant corporations file bankruptcy, restructure all the time, yet ordinary Americans feel shame about it when, like you said, they shouldn't. They
Yep.
absolutely shouldn't.
I,
For
I,
our listeners, go ahead.
I actually just not too long ago filed a World War II veteran who never missed a payment on their credit cards for 70 years or something. And they said it was such a freeing experience. And I told him, I said, well, you don't, and all of their assets were protected. I said, well, you don't actually have to file because your assets are protected. And they were like, well, I don't want to deal with the phone calls, the lawsuits, or anything. So we filed a pro bono case for them. And they said it's such a freeing experience. Somebody in their mid to late 90s that's filing bankruptcy after paying their bills for so long, and they're like, I don't even know how to stop paying my bills. Like, how do I cancel this?
Crazy. World War II veteran. Wow.
Yep.
And we're throwing around the word bankruptcy, but obviously there's different segments to bankruptcy law. For our listeners, can you explain the differences between Chapter 7, 11, 13 in plain English, so for our listeners who may not understand them?
Absolutely. So Chapter 7 is what most people think bankruptcy is. That's where debts are completely cleared out, 3 to 4 months, beginning to end. You generally speaking don't pay anything back. I want to say 80 to 90% of our cases are what are considered no asset cases, which means there's no exempt assets that have to go to the creditors. So nothing's paid, you get your discharge. And the majority of debts are discharged. There's certain debts that are more difficult to discharge, like student loans. Certain taxes can be discharged as well. So that's your traditional Chapter 7 liquidation, get your discharge very quickly. Chapter 13 and Chapter 11 both are reorganizations. So Chapter 13 is an individual reorganization. You can do a joint filing as well with your spouse. And that's where you pay back a portion of the debt over a 3 to 5 year period. There's generally speaking two reasons you pick Chapter 13. One, you don't qualify for the 7 because your median income is above the threshold for a Chapter 7. So that kicks you into a 13. Or two, you're trying to save your home, you're trying to save your car, and get on a repayment plan over that 3 to 5 years where you're getting caught up on the missed payments, and then you're able to keep your mortgage, keep your house, or keep your vehicle. Chapter 11 is a larger version of the Chapter 13. You can do it for individual or for corporations. So this is the one that Spirit was in, Ford, GM, any reorganization where the business is continuing to operate, or individuals can use Chapter 11 as well if they're above a certain debt threshold. So that's the basic rundown between the three chapters.
Interesting. And I know that bankruptcy law is federal, but
Correct.
there are still state by state differences involving exemptions and qualifications. What should people know about how their state can impact their case?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's the same federal law across the board, but if you live and file in Florida versus Pennsylvania, it's a big difference. And I'm originally from Pittsburgh, and we have an office in Pittsburgh. In Florida, you have unlimited homestead exemption, and there's certain requirements to qualify for that. But generally speaking, most of my clients do qualify. In Pennsylvania, I believe it's $50,000. So if you have more than $50,000 worth of equity in your home, they can actually sell your home where you have to pay a portion of it back. So that's why there'll be more Chapter 13 filings in Pittsburgh. So you don't have to sell your home; you can keep it and pay a portion of the debt over that 3 to 5 year period. In Texas, you have an unlimited vehicle exemption. In Florida, you have a $5,000 vehicle exemption, meaning that if you have a car that's paid off worth $10,000, they'll either take the car or you have to come up with $5,000 to pay towards your creditors. So it's really important to understand what your exemptions are for your state. And there are federal exemptions as well, where some states allow you to use the federal exemptions. Florida is not one of them. Florida is an opt-out state, so you have to use the Florida state exemptions.
Got to be on top of that. Definitely speak to someone in your state. Uh, you mentioned the World War II veteran. Have there been cases in your career where helping someone through bankruptcy genuinely changed or even saved their life?
Oh, absolutely. My favorite case, and that's actually one of my first cases. There was this gentleman who was he worked for those tax companies around tax day. You know how they'll hire the guys that like dress up as Lady Liberty or the tax Uncle Sam, and so he had the sign and he was like he's dancing to make and he was trying to make money because he was homeless, trying to make money so that he could get an apartment. So he finally got the money together and he took the cash to the landlord. Landlord said, "No, I need a check. I can't take cash." Puts the cash in a bank account. Bank account's frozen,
Mm.
frozen immediately. So this guy's just ready to give up on life. So he comes into my office and he tells me the story. I said, "All right, we're going to emergency file your case, and we're gonna get the money back, and you're going to get that apartment." And we emergency filed the case, filed a motion for turnover. The Chapter 7 trustee, the person that oversees the case, actually helped support me in this after hearing the story. And we were able to get the money back. He got his apartment, and literally life changing to this day. And I could only imagine, being homeless, putting all that effort in, and then it just going away because, a creditor had a garnishment on the bank account, where at that point you're just going to give up on life, because you think you've done everything you can, you think you've done it the right way, and to get punched like that, I was so happy. My team, we talk about it all the time, how we do life-changing things like that on a day-to-day basis, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful profession.
Love it. Love it. Now, I'm a small business owner as well. And I just want to switch gears a little bit because I know how difficult traditional bank funding can be to obtain. Okay. Then we have these companies that come along and they offer me fast money with very little friction. And for listeners unfamiliar with them, they're called merchant cash advances. Can you explain to our small business owner population why they're very dangerous?
Yeah, MCAs are the last step before you're gonna come see me and file bankruptcy. So merchant cash advance is exactly what you said, Sal. Unfortunately, they found that small businesses cannot get the capital they need, generally speaking, and it doesn't come quickly because the institutional lenders, and even the SBA, they move more slowly, and it's harder to get approved. So what the MCAs came in is that they made it easy and quick to get cash into your bank account, infused into the bank account. And what they do is some take daily, some take weekly money directly out of your bank account, and it's coming out of your cash flow. And unfortunately, the interest rate on this is hundreds and hundreds of percent, generally
Mm.
speaking. So what that does is it causes your cash flow and your business to enter into this death spiral that you just can't get out of. So what usually happens then is then you get another MCA, then you get another MCA, and you're stacking all these merchant cash advance. We just filed a case recently that had 7 MCA loans, all from the same broker, of course, and they got their commission from doing it. So the only time that I've seen an MCA actually work is a situation like if you owned a restaurant and your air conditioning went down, and the restaurant's great, you have the cash flow, you just need the money to fix that one-time incident, and you get the MCA, the money comes in, and you pay it back right away. That can work, but the majority of cases, if you're having cash flow issues already, that's why you need the MCA. The cash flow issues are only going to get worse because the MCA is taking such a large amount of your money moving forward.
Yeah, it's crazy stacking 7 MCAs on one account. That's very, very aggressive. I know here in New York, our Attorney General Letitia James, she has it out for these merchant cash advance companies. And I was doing research in Florida as well, and I know that you guys are, hitting the payday loans and the short-term loans pretty hard as well. But I want to have you seen a profitable business collapse simply because the repayment structure became too aggressive?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I've seen, and the problem is these loans are the 50-page document, but you just can click through and say yes, yes, real quick, and then all of a sudden you have the $100,000 that you needed, but you got to pay back 250. So the short answer is yes. I have seen successful businesses that they wanted to expand, or there was something they wanted to go after that they didn't have the cash, but they had a great business, and they end up in Chapter 11. The good thing about Chapter 11, though, is a business like that, if businesses have revenue and they can be profitable without this debt, generally speaking, it is a successful Chapter 11. The businesses that are not successful in Chapter 11 are the ones that can't break even without the debt.
Now, I know here in New York, when you take out a merchant cash advance, they make you sign a COJ.
Hmm.
Uh, I think it's a confession of judgment where I forego, and they take me right to court to seek money, try to, freeze your bank accounts, etc. Are these types of loans dischargeable under bankruptcy as well?
Yeah, generally speaking, they're dischargeable under bankruptcy. And the COJ, the reason they do it in New York is New York actually allows COJs, confessions of judgment. Florida doesn't even recognize them. So if they wanted to use that confession of judgment to come after a Florida business, they would actually have to file a new lawsuit in Florida because we just don't recognize it because there's no due process, right? All they do is an affidavit, and they go to the courthouse with an affidavit that there was a default. Here's the judgment. Judgment's entered. So what that judgment allows them to do is freeze bank accounts. That's normally what they go after. Because even if it's a Florida company, if you have a Chase bank account, there's a Chase branch in New York, obviously. So they go to that Chase, freeze the money, and that's how they get after it. So I wish confessions of judgments would just go away completely because again, there's no due process, once they freeze your bank account, then you can't even afford to hire attorneys because all your money's frozen.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you have a lot of experience, when it comes to dealing with individuals with merchant cash advances. Is negotiation possible, or do I have to go straight to litigation or bankruptcy protection?
I mean, negotiation is possible, but they make it a long and arduous process, and you don't really get the real relief that you need, from my experience. So you certainly can negotiate, but they are not willing outside of bankruptcy to really come to terms that are going to work in the long term. And any negotiations that I see, they're always short-term fixes. Okay, instead of weekly payments, we'll do bi-weekly payments for the next, 8 weeks, and then we'll see where we are. And you're already in default, so basically they're able to add default fees on extra interest, and they put you in a hole that you just can't get out of. So at that point, unless I have a big payday coming in, there's an account receivable for X amount that's going to come in 60 days. You need something that's basically going to break the cycle, an infusion of cash that'll break that cycle. If that's not coming, generally speaking, you're going to end up in Chapter 11.
Yeah, and you did mention, in the restaurant scenario where their air conditioner broke down, but they had positive cash flow. So obviously, MCAs aren't, terrible all of the time. What advice would you give a business owner before they sign their very first merchant cash advance agreement?
Just don't do it. Honestly, I've seen so many. Just don't do it. Um, figure, find every other possible way that you could borrow money. SBA, traditional lending, taking liens against properties, uh, family, friends, selling things. Because once that money is just so expensive. And if it's your last resort, it's your last resort. Talk to bankruptcy attorneys if there's other debt that's causing the issue. I have not seen many companies successfully pay back in full the MCAs. And I think the way that they're still making money on it is um, by charging that 100, 200, 300%. They don't need to collect in full. They get their principal back, and then whatever they get above that, they're good, and they just keep the businesses and individuals in debt.
Yeah, it's nuts. The phone, and everybody's in the industry, in the business. The phone doesn't stop ringing, over here. Always, everyone's asking, how much can you use? How much can you put to work for you? But you did say something that I wanted to ask about as well. You mentioned SBA loans, and I wanted to talk about the EIDL loans that were issued during the pandemic through the SBA. Looking back now, what's your overall opinion of how that program was handled?
So my overall opinion is it was necessary. It was absolutely necessary, and it helped a lot of long time running businesses. The problem is the oversight. I'm seeing loans come through that clearly should have never been made because the business didn't have the revenue to pay back the loan. So the underwriting was a little weak. And I believe that the banks were just incentivized to get the money out because the banks obviously got a percentage of whatever they underwrote. So when you incentivize things like that, you're going to get these results. And the fraud investigations are going to go on for a long period of time. Obviously, you see the headlines first of the people that are buying the Lamborghinis,
Yeah.
but it'll continue to trickle in as far as the different fraud. The SBA is either number one or number two on the creditor list for all of the small business bankruptcies that I file. MCAs would be one or two as well. And there's no personal guarantee on many of the SBA loans because it would only trigger over 150 or $200,000 where there would be a personal guarantee. So what we're seeing a lot of is businesses that are winding down. They're not even filing bankruptcy because they don't have operations anymore, and we just help wind down the business, give notification to the SBA that the business is going away, and then the individual doesn't have to file bankruptcy if they didn't have a personal guarantee. So unfortunately, I'm seeing tons of small businesses closing, and when they close the SBA loan, they still can go after the business, and you have to keep the business records. But there's really nothing to go after. These are no asset businesses, unfortunately.
Yeah, they made it real easy to get the EID loans. In fact, all you had to do was slide a trackball across the screen, and you could select the amount that you wanted, and it was like an almost a guaranteed approval at that time. Um, but you said that they still try to come after you or business assets. Can you explain what that actually means legally if someone defaults?
Yeah, so the SBA, and what people don't realize is when you take that SBA loan, the SBA actually has a lien on all the business's property. So unfortunately, I've had some potential clients come in that have wanted to file bankruptcy or wanted to do different things with the SBA loans, and they actually would give away some of the assets of the business to another business because they wanted to start a new business. I said, you can't do that. That's like selling a car that has a car note on it or a lien. You can't do that. And if the SBA finds out about it, they're not going to be happy. And you individually, whether you signed a personal guarantee or not, um, would still be liable for that loan because you accidentally committed fraud. So you
Yeah.
got to be really careful. And again, I know that I don't even know how many loans, hundreds of thousands of these loans that are in default. So the SBA, it's difficult for them to get around to all of them, but they're extending the statute of limitations to give them more time to look through it. So you really got to be careful. Just because you're not hearing from the SBA today and you're getting form letters from them doesn't mean that somebody's not going to pick up and file that lawsuit against the business, get the business records, and really track where all the money has gone. And we see it in our Chapter 11s when the SBA is a creditor, they request the bank statements. And they want to see, okay, money went in on this date. What was the money actually used for? And if the money went into this business and went out to a personal bank account or another business account, that's a real issue.
Yeah, I think the look back period I think is close to 10 years
Yep,
when it comes.
they extended to 10 years now.
Let me just ask you because I'm just fascinated by it, and I have a lot of friends that took out the EIDL, small business owners, and there was no personal guarantee, but their businesses are slowing. So I'm asking these questions, for them because they are genuinely, they're nervous
Hmm.
because they have a fairly large EIDL balance, no personal guarantee, but they do have the guarantee of their business assets. But what if their business assets are just like a computer, a couple of desks? What happens in that case?
Yeah, so when it's just a computer and a couple of desks, what we do with our clients, because it wouldn't make sense to do a Chapter 7 for the business or what's called an assignment for the benefit of creditors. And that's a Florida state thing, but they have them in other states as well, where you give all the assets to a third party, they sell it off, and then give the money to the creditors. I do recommend, obviously, if there's significant assets, to go through one of those processes, because then you have a fiduciary that steps in, and the SBA won't think that you're trying to steal things or do anything underhanded. So in a case where you don't really have many assets, what I would recommend doing is contacting the SBA and saying, "Hey, I have about $1,500 worth of assets, furniture, whatever. Happy to hand this over to you. I know you don't want it. Would you like me to send you a check for the value of that? Because I'm winding down the business." And make sure that you just document everything, because you want to be one of those good guys that says, "Hey, I did everything right. The business just didn't work out. I certainly didn't want to stiff you here, but I'm personally not I didn't guarantee it, so I'm not going to personally pay for this loan moving forward." And just keep all the documentation, because I think those emails will really go a long way, and those messages will go a long way if a lawsuit is ever brought years down the line, where, hey, it looks like you try to do everything the correct way. You kept track of the inventory. You offered to send X amount of dollars in for the value of those assets, and you sent all the dissolution paperwork. And also ask them, do you want any other paperwork? Do you want bank statements? Do you want any of my QuickBooks reports? And really just be an open book, and that'll show that, again, you're one of the good guys. Your business just didn't make it, and you can't pay this debt back. But there's no reason for you to individually pay it if the business has gone under.
Interesting, interesting. And you said that EIDL, MCAs, you're seeing them at the top of the list with what you're doing.
Yeah, every filing, Chapter 11 filing, usually has an MCA and has an SBA loan.
Do you think that the government will increase enforcement efforts over the next few years as more loans fall into default?
It, I I would guess no, just because they don't have the manpower, and I think there's other priorities right now. So I would guess that the answer would be no. And I think with what we're going to see with the EIDL loans, and maybe with even student loans as well, some sort of settlement program where they come out that offers business owners and student loan borrowers, hey, if you pay us in full, we'll give you 25% off. If you pay us in full by the end of the year, we'll give you 25% off. That way, that'll take some of that debt off the books. It'll encourage people that might have a 3%, 4% loan, really give them a reason to pay it off early, and maybe that'll help pay down some of the government debt because they'll have an infusion of cash into the government. So I think it would be a good program across the board for borrowers and for the government. So I could see something like that happening. But from what I see is the SBA and Department of Education just does not have enough manpower to really escalate. So unless artificial intelligence helps them some way, or they become more efficient, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what you said, is absolutely true, though. Yeah, it was a necessary evil at the time. There was a lot of money that was pumped into the system, and it has to be paid back, and it's going to be paid back one way, or another. And you said something earlier that really, really caught my ear. TikTok and the younger generation that is erasing that stigma surrounding bankruptcy. Is that millennials that you're talking about?
Actually, it's after millennials. So what's that? Gen Z.
Gen
I
Z, yeah.
I believe it's the Gen Zers, and we have actually had to change our marketing so that we can get into TikTok in different places, because that's where individuals are getting their legal advice now, which is, we could have a whole different podcast about that.
Yeah.
But you got to be where your clients are. So, and I'd rather get out there and be able to tell what really happens in bankruptcy instead of some of these debt influencers where you don't know if you can trust it or not. But there actually is some very helpful information, and when people put their stories out there, especially when they say, I became debt free and then I was able to get credit cards, I was able to rebuild my credit score. They're showing their credit score, so you're seeing real information. It's very powerful, and obviously people that are going through it, misery loves company, as they say. People that are really going through it like to see those success stories and people talking so openly about it. And it's actually been great for our business because we're able to communicate with people in an open forum that have gone through bankruptcy. And people love to see comeback stories, and especially in America, we love comeback stories. We love seeing people that are down and out for whatever reason. And the number one reason people file bankruptcy is still medical debt.
Mm,
People get into a car accident and the other person didn't have enough insurance or there wasn't enough insurance. They end up missing work. Now they have medical bills on top of it. They don't have a car. They end up filing bankruptcy. And, that to me is nothing to be embarrassed about. It's just, it sucks. It's right. It's just a really bad set of facts that happened to you. Now let's get through it and move on.
yeah, a lot different than getting a credit card and just maxing it out on Amazon.
And that's the story that the creditors want to talk about. It's like, and that's probably less than 1% of my clients are the ones that went to New York and went to the clubs and got bottle service, or Miami and were partying. That really doesn't happen. We do see the gamblers that get into debt over gambling and that addiction. But rarely will we see people that just overspent on luxury items or partying.
Excellent. And again, I was doing research preparing for this interview, and one thing that I noticed and what stood out about your career is that you're generally a really nice guy. And I know this to be true because of how deeply involved you are in philanthropy, mentorship outside the courtroom. Why has giving back become such an important part of your life?
It's what makes it worth it. Just doing becoming a bankruptcy attorney just to make money. First off, is a bad decision because there are better businesses out there. There are definitely better businesses out there to make money than becoming a bankruptcy attorney. But also the people that you're surrounded with, I feel like people want to work with genuine people. And I genuinely care about my clients and I care about making a difference in their lives, whether it's helping save their small business and all the employees. We have businesses that we represent that have been around for decades. And then if they go away, it's going to hurt a community. And it's not lost on me that that is what we're dealing with on a day in, day out basis. And it's just natural for me to be involved with Big Brothers, Big Sisters because I was a mentor and I had tons of mentors. My dad passed away when I was young, so I was fortunate to have a bunch of people step up in my life. So for me to be able to do that for my little and for all the littles here in Broward County, with legal aid, I was recently board chair and have done a lot of great pro bono work with multiple legal aids throughout the state. And giving back is really just what makes it all worth it. And I'm fortunate to be surrounded by such incredible people that also believe that at Van Horn Law Group. And going through the interview process, and we've been around long enough now where you attract the same energy. So when we put things out there on social media, it really attracts the right people to work with us. And if you don't care about the clients and you don't care about the work, it shows pretty quickly. And then usually people move on. Because again, this is not representing a faceless institution. These are real people that are sometimes in the worst time of their life, and seeing them come out the other side. And sometimes it really is just that 15-minute where you're going through it with them, and they're like, "Wait, that's it? I've been stressed out for so long, and all I needed to do was sit with you for 15 minutes, and we're done." And
Yeah.
that's the best feeling in the world. And getting the text message over the weekend, like this is the first night I've slept through the night in years. Really, it's life-changing work.
Awesome. Very rewarding. And I know it's not just words because you mentioned big brothers, big sisters. You've mentored your little, I believe his name is Desmond,
Correct? Yep.
since 2012.
Mhm.
Good for you. What has that relationship meant to you personally?
Man, well, first off, it opened my eyes because we all have our childhood and we think our childhood is normal, whatever that is, because it was our normal, right? And for my childhood, I played every sport in the world. We were talking off camera about football, basketball, baseball, you name it, I played it. And I remember when I took my little brother Desmond out to the batting cages for the first time, he didn't know if he batted left-handed or right-handed because he's never ha held a bat in his life, because that's just not part of his world. And to me, that was mind-blowing because at 5 years old, I'm playing t-ball, and my grandfather's slow pitching to me, and so just having these different experiences really let you realize things that you might have taken for granted because you don't realize that it's not normal. And seeing the difference the bigs do in our program on a day in, day out basis, it really, again, I'm saying it multiple times. It is life-changing work. And then Desmond started dressing like me, which I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. But then his friends started dressing like him. So like there was like a whole crew, because it became the cool way to dress, if you will, where it's a little more professional. And just seeing those little things where it can impact a small community and really change an individual's direction. And all you're doing is exposing them to opportunities, and you don't know which one's going to click, what's going to work, or is this going to make a big difference. You're just showing up and hanging out, and that's really all it takes.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. Because, I mean, I volunteered my time for quite a number of years. T-ball coach, baseball coach, football coach, and you could always tell the kids that don't have that support. And I think that's what drew me to it, was the fact that I was able to give back, just exactly like what you said. It's a very, very rewarding feeling. And I know that you've been recognized. You received awards ranging from Attorney of the Year to the National Philanthropy Day Individual Hero Award, South Florida Business Journal's 40 Under 40. Do awards motivate you, or is it the real reward seeing the direct impact on people's lives?
Yeah, I'm not really into awards, and fortunately, we have won a lot of awards. And you probably notice I say we a lot because I have so many people that are working behind the scenes. I get to be the face, and I get to be the person that accepts the award or gets named, but we could not make the impact in people's lives that we're doing if it was just me. I love leading this team. I love being part of the team. And the awards and the recognition is certainly nice, but it's not something that I've ever strived for. Now, as a competitor, I like to compete for awards. So if there's different things out there as far as basketball, or I just won a Dancing with the Stars for with the American Lung Association on Friday. So the competitive juices, if I'm actually competing, that's one thing, right? Because I love a good competition. But as far as the awards from National Association of Consumer Bankruptcy Attorney, Legal Aid, they're definitely appreciated. But that's not the reason that we're doing it. The reason that we're doing it, and my favorite thing is when I'm out walking around and just somebody comes up and tells me about how successful they are, how happy they are with their family, and how I might have played a small part in making that happen. That's why I show up every day. And the awards certainly are nice, but the impact that we're having on the community and individuals' lives, that's the reason we show up to work 6 days a week.
Yes, sir. For our younger attorneys that listen in, or business professionals listening right now, what would you say about the importance of mentorship leadership, community involvement outside of work?
Yeah, I'm a product of mentorship. So w without the mentors that I had in my life, it would have been impossible to make it here. I wouldn't even have known about this path without my mentors. So if you are fortunate enough to be successful, if you are fortunate to have some life experiences, definitely pass that on to the next generation because they need it now more than ever, especially with, AI out there going to replace everybody and the headlines that you're coming into and the recession. I graduated and came into the workforce during the Great Recession. Um, right now, we're probably headed toward another recession. And recent graduates, keep that energy, look for those mentors. I mentor law school students. It's intern season and law clerk season at my law firm. I try to hire as many as I can because I know that people aren't hiring people that don't have experience. And if nobody's hiring people that don't have experience, how are they ever going to get experience? So you got to give people a shot. So the business owners that are out there, give these kids and young people, give them a shot. And I even have high school interns that come in and give them experience. And I worked since I was 5 years old. I had a paper route with my brother. I've worked 31 different jobs that I actually wrote them down the other day. And each of those jobs, I got a soft skill, I got a learning experience. I may have learned what I didn't want to do. And I can tell you, roofing was not something that was built for me for many reasons. So God bless all the roofers out there, man. It's too hot up on that roof. That is a real work. So yeah, give this next generation the opportunity. I'm certainly here to do it, and it really is easy. Just speak with them. I just came back actually before this. We have new hires that just came on today, and I sent an email to my entire team. Hey, I'm going for coffee across the street. Anybody want to join me? And then you have these younger employees that get to meet with the owner of the firm, and you don't realize the impact that might have on those individuals because I'm just one of the employees here. I don't look at myself any different, but sometimes people are intimidated. And I don't think they should be. I don't think, and I try to make sure in our culture that that's not a thing. Where when I talk about open door policy, it's a real open door policy, not just for the people that I like or I'm friends with. So that's why you put those opportunities out there. Anybody wants to grab coffee with me, or somebody want to grab breakfast, lunch, grab a drink after work, whatever it is, that 15 minutes, half an hour might really change the course of somebody's life because I get really interesting questions when I'm on these coffee breaks, and I get insight into my business that I didn't even realize is happening behind the scenes because it's hard to get that granular, if you will, whenever you have a business of 100 plus employees and you're filing hundreds of cases per month. So I become a better teammate because I learn these little tidbits of what's going on within my organization.
Yeah. Helping others through mentorship, charitable work makes you a better attorney, a better teammate, better leader. Uh, and you said it yourself, you have an incredible workload. Um, what keeps you motivated after handling thousands of emotionally difficult bankruptcy and financial distress cases?
As of 3 months ago, my motivation really has changed, and you hear that you change whenever you have a child, especially being a girl dad, which everybody says that I was meant to be a girl dad, which I will certainly take that as a badge of honor. So my motivation definitely has changed significantly since having my daughter Kiara. Um, what the reason I work so hard now is to make sure that she is taken care of, whatever opportunities that she wants as an adult, and to try to free up my time to spend more time with her because my wife is an amazing mother to my daughter, and the hardest time now is in the morning when I'm leaving her, and then when I'm away from her all day. So I'm trying to free up some time. And fortunately, I have incredible attorneys that are able to take over when I need to spend some time with my daughter. And I have so many amazing people. I have employees that have been with me basically from the beginning, so almost 20 years now. And I have to put in the effort and I have to show up for them. And obviously, we have so many clients that are coming in every day that are really putting significant issues in our hands to take care of them. And our promise is that that's why we're here. We're here to take care of them. So that's why we have to show up. We have to show up every day. So I have a lot of motivation. And although I'm almost what I just finished 11,000 cases in at this point. We're on our road to 12,000 cases this year. Um, I still treat it like it's the first case, every case that comes in.
Good for you. Good for you. You have a beautiful family. I love doing research for this podcast. Like I really felt like I got to get to know you, and in listening to you speak, what I saw just on social, on your website, it's definitely who you are. It's not just an image. And I want to ask, for our listeners interested in reaching out, what's the best way to contact you? Should they go through the website, phone number, through social media?
Yeah, the best way is through the website. So you could go to chadvanhorn.com or vanhornlawgroup.com. You could also contact the office, 954-637-0000. But also, if you social media, whatever's easiest for you. The key is, if you're dealing with any issues, or if you need mentorship, or if you have questions for me, just reach out. I do respond to every email. I do respond to every message. So just reach out.
Excellent. I'll be sure to highlight your contact information for you. And Chad, I have to say, this was an incredibly important conversation, because financial hardship can happen to anyone. Individuals, families, entrepreneurs, and, like we stated earlier, even billion-dollar corporations. And the truth is, asking for help is not a weakness. Bankruptcy laws, like you said, exist for a reason, to give people and businesses a chance to breathe, recover, and rebuild. And I really, really want to thank you for joining us today and breaking down the realities of bankruptcy. And I wish nothing but the best to your wife, your family, your team there, and of course, Chuckles, Bruno, and Rocco, my golden doodles, officially approve of this episode. So I really want to thank you again for joining us.
Sal, it's been a pleasure. It's amazing how quickly the time flew by.
Thank you for listening to the Top Attorneys podcast. The Top Attorneys celebrates the achievements of leading attorneys across the nation. To be featured, send a message or visit www.topattorneys.us.